Hi guys, this is Michelle with Deception Bytes, and we're carrying on with the Q-Anon post from 4Chan. Hopefully that my cats will cooperate. They've been in a little bit of a tiff here, and kind of waited for them to get over it, because I don't want you to hear hissing cats in the background. They're 20 years old. They're very, very old cats, so their fights don't last long because they wear themselves out. But hopefully that they will continue to be mellow as they are right now. So let's get into this. And again, we have some interesting things. We're continuing on with November 5th, and this one's at 11:46 p.m. And I do realize several people have said, you know, you're behind with these. Yes, of course, I know that. But we are going through them in order and in depth, linking to news stories and things to verify the answers that I'm coming up with. Now, we will get through all these. There haven't been ongoing ones, so it's not like we're, way behind, because he's, Q has stopped posting. So we will get to the end of these, and then we can decide what we want to do from there. Certainly, I've learned a lot as I've gone along, so the answers that I gave, at first may be entirely different than the answers that I would give now, because I've learned more in looking up all these news articles and so forth. But let's continue on for now. So November 5th, Q says, important to archive. Above and next drops have high probability of shutting down POL. POL, of course, being the forum on 4Chan, which Q is posting to. Next, he says, it is being safeguarded for these transmissions, but not 100% secure. Then he asks, who owns POL, which again is the forum that on 4Chan that Q is posting to, and it is owned by Christopher Poole. Why is this platform being used? Well, I can think of a few reasons. First, it has an alt-right audience that is very pro-Trump. So it would be a good place to post this kind of things, because the users are, for the most part, pro-Trump. Another thing is it's got a younger user that are very internet savvy. They're a lot of hackers and so forth use 4Chan, so whether that plays into it. The other thing is 4Chan, to my knowledge, in looking at this, is one of the only communication platforms that does not have links to Saudi Arabia. So that could be why as well. Now, what recent events almost occurred regarding POL? And that was, they were almost banned from Twitter. Why is that? Why is this relevant? Well, because the same thing happened to Trump, except he wasn't banned. They just shut his Twitter down, which is really the same thing. And then Q says, stay alert in main U.S. cities. He has in parentheses, D.C., sporting events and other conservative gatherings. Repeat, stay alert in main U.S. cities, in parentheses, D.C., sporting events and other conservative gatherings. More false flags imminent. Now, I'm not aware that any false flags happened after this. However, I think he's saying that that was the intention, that, they had planned more false flags. Now, whether we'll see that, I don't know. I mean, this is now in December, so I would say that the danger of that is past, but I don't know. And he says, elections Tuesday no longer matter at this stage. It would be interesting to know exactly what he meant by that. If anyone has any ideas, I have some ideas, but I don't know how good those ideas are. So if anyone knows and wants to put a message down in the comments, I will certainly read them. I know a lot of people do, and I've had very, very helpful comments left that have filled in a lot of gaps for me personally. So I'm sure that you all have, in reading the comments, have had gaps filled in as well. So he then says Snow White, which I believe is Snowden. Godfather 3, which I'm still undecided. I've heard several answers, none that I'm 100% sure of, so I've just kind of left myself undecided there. Above will have context as news unfolds, summarize, and paint the picture. critical. Q. Now, Q is relying on those that visit the 4chan channel to get this information out. That's what he was hoping for, and that's what indeed did happen. So he's wanting people to summarize the information and get it out. And I think that that's happening because it seems to me that when I first started looking into this, nobody had heard of it. Now it seems like everybody's buzzing about this. So I think it is getting out there. Okay, now the next one, it's going to be a long post. Well, the next two actually are going to be long, and that will probably take us up to the end of this one. But let's get moving here. Social media platforms, period. So he's telling us that that's what this is about, social media platforms. Top 10 shareholders of Facebook. And I did put the last... he's asking this for a reason, not because he really cares who the top 10 shareholders are, but he's wanting us to find something in those shareholders. So that's what I went looking for instead of concentrating on each individual shareholder, because that's not where he's going here. He's wanting us to find something similar, because he's asking top 10 shareholders of Facebook, Twitter, and Reddit. So who would that be? What would be the common denominator? And the common denominator is Kingdom Holdings and News Corp, which of course News Corp has been, Al-Walid bin Talal has a big chunk of News Corp as well. So that's the thing in common in all this is Prince Al-Walid bin Talal, the guy who was arrested, I guess, in Saudi Arabia for corruption. Okay, now. So I'm not going to go to all those shareholders, but interestingly enough, with Twitter, last December, Kingdom Holdings, which of course is Al-Walid bin Talal's company, took a $300 million stake in Twitter. So that's pretty major. So let's go over here. And top 10 shareholders of Reddit is News Corp is in there, which again is owned, huge part of that is owned by Prince Al-Walid bin Talal. So that's what Q is getting here. That's what he's getting to. That's what he's wanting us to find here. And Al-Walid bin Talal is the second top shareholder in News Corp. So that's significant. Why is Saudi Arabia relevant? Because Prince Al-Walid bin Talal influences our media and our social media. So what's going on in Saudi Arabia is relevant to us because this man is responsible for huge influence in our country. And then he tells us, why is Saudi Arabia relevant? He's telling us really right here, mainstream media. Of course, because our mainstream media is in big part owned by News Corp, which Prince Al-Walid bin Talal is the second top shareholder. That's significant. That's very significant. It's no wonder that the media is so pro-Islam and, against anything Christian. It's pretty evident to me. Now, controlling stakes in NBC, MSNBC, News Corp. Al-Walid bin Talal. Controlling stakes in ABC, same thing, News Corp. Controlling stakes in CBS, News Corp. Controlling stakes in CNN, News Corp. Investor in Fox News, News Corp. Again, remember, Al-Walid bin Talal is the second top shareholder in that. Interesting. Why is this relevant? Well, he tells us really with the next question. What is Operation Mockingbird? Well, we know that Mockingbird, and I've stated this several times, but I'm just, for those that may not remember or whatever, Mockingbird was an alleged large-scale program of the United States Central Intelligence Agency that began in the early 1950s and attempted to manipulate news media for propaganda purposes. It funded student and cultural organizations and magazines as front organizations. According to writer Deborah Davis, Mockingbird recruited leading American journalists into a propaganda network and oversaw the operations of front groups. CIA support of front groups was exposed after a 1967 Ramparts magazine article reported that the National Student Association received funding from the CIA. In the 1970s, congressional investigations and reports also revealed agency connections with journalists and civic groups. None of these reports, however, mentions an Operation Mockingbird controlling or supporting these activities, but I think we all pretty much know that it does. Okay. What is Operation Mockingbird? We've just answered that. Is it active? Of course. I think that's, honestly, I just don't know how anybody could look at the state of the media in America and say that it's not operational, unless they're really, really blind or incredibly stupid, one or the other. Who is Anderson Cooper? Well, we know who Anderson Cooper is, but who is he really? He's CIA. What is Anderson Cooper's background? Well, believe it or not, he is part of the Vanderbilt family and part of the Vanderbilt family fortune. And interestingly enough, he was a CIA intern. And I think I may have an article that shows that. Yes, I do, because I knew people would say no, but it's true. Hang on one second. Yeah, my computer is just so blazingly fast. Come on. Doesn't want to go. Come on. Very strange. Well, I did have a I'm sure you don't want to sit here all night while I keep clicking on this because it's not working. But let me see. Don't want to look at my mug either. Hang on one second. I got to see what's going on here. I don't know. Well, anyway, he is CIA. And he was a CIA intern. I think if you Google that, you'll probably come up with the same article that I came up with. It was at the Washington Post. And for some reason, it's not coming up now. So, don't know. Anyway, why is this relevant? Well, it's relevant because, you know, if he's CIA, then he's not, you know, an unbiased news source. He's, you know, there for a reason. And then, of course, he ends with Snow White, Godfather 3, and Speed. I wish I could have brought that article up for you, and I apologize. I am going to be going during the holidays and get some more RAM put in this, and it should kick it up quite a bit. Okay, let's go on to the next one. We're on November 6, 2017 at 4:50 p.m. Why was the arrest of al-Walid and others important? Well, it's important because they supported radical Islam and they were supplying weapons to ISIS and other organizations, front organizations. They were, you know, through their oil money, they were giving oil to places like the Clinton Foundation, who in exchange were providing weapons. So I think it was critical that this be stopped and cleaned out. How is al-Walid and Barack Obama tied to Huma? Now, Huma, again, this is not the person Huma. This is Harvard University Muslim Association. And there is a tie there. I think we went over it last time that al-Walid's top advisor paid for Barack Obama's tuition and his educational costs at Harvard. So that's pretty significant. Why did Al-Walid finance Barack Obama pre-political days? Well, that's a very good question, isn't it? He obviously knew he was Muslim, and he was being groomed as president by someone. And, why wouldn't he? His whole idea is to have that Islamic influence in America. That's why he wants our media. That's why he wants all these vehicles to, to be able to influence us. He has studies in Harvard University, Muslim studies there that are his, and that he has financed there. So, it's a huge deal that he would support Barack Obama, because obviously Barack Obama was on board with him, or he would not be paying his way through university. He was being groomed, and obviously he wanted a Muslim in the White House. I mean, there's no better way to influence America than having a Muslim in the White House. What is HUMA? Define. It's the Harvard University Muslim Association. What book was Barack Obama caught reading? He was caught reading Post-American World. And let me just tell you what that is here. Post-American World. Oh, sorry. I'm just not having a good night tonight for some reason. Okay. Post-American World is nonfiction book by American journalist Fareed Zakaria. It was published in hardcover and audiobook formats in early May 2008 and became available in paperback in early May 2009. The updated and expanded release 2.0 followed in 2011. In the book, Zakaria, forgive my pronunciations, argues that thanks to the actions of the United States in spreading liberal democracy across the world, other countries are now competing with the U.S. in terms of economic, industrial, and cultural power. While the U.S. continues to dominate in terms of political military power, other countries such as China and India are becoming global players in many fields. The book peaked at number 2 on the New York Times nonfiction hardcover bestseller list and at 47 on the USA Today top 150 best-selling books list. Reviewers commented that Zakaria writing was intelligent and sharp, yet accessible to general audiences. A few reviewers also wrote that the book was similar to an extended essay with journalistic style writing. So, I actually, maybe I'm missing something major here, but, I guess because I've spent so many years in school, in post-secondary education, and I'm like, okay, what's the big deal in reading this book? Like, yes, it looks wrong for a president to be reading that book, but, I don't know. I guess I'm somebody that reads a lot of different things to educate myself, and just because I'm reading something doesn't mean I agree with it. Now, knowing what we know about Barack Obama, it probably holds more significance than if you or I were holding that book and reading it. But anyway, why is this relevant? Well, I'm not exactly sure why it's relevant. Why would the President of the United States be reading this book? And I said, well, it's a good question. And again, forgive my clock. I'll just wait here for a second while it goes through its bonging. It's one of those old wind-up clocks. It's 120 years old. So if I stop it, it takes me forever to get it, started and to the right place. So I leave it running, but I know it's annoying. So, why would he be reading this book? I said good question. I don't know. It's only a big deal to me personally because of other things that I know about Barack Obama. But if I were to see another president reading that book, I probably wouldn't think much of it because it's an educational thing. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know why this is such a big deal. What church did Barack Obama attend as pre-POTUS? And that was the Trinity United Church of Christ. Who was Barack Obama's mentor? Frank Marshall Davis. And the church that he attended, it was Jeremiah Wright's church, and I think we've all heard plenty about that. Jeremiah Alvester Wright Jr., called Jerry, born September 22nd, 1941, is a pastor emeritus of Trinity United Church of Christ in Chicago with a congregation exceeding 6,000. In early 2008, Wright retired after 36 years as senior pastor and no longer has daily responsibilities at the church. Following retirement, Wright's beliefs and preaching were scrutinized when segments of his sermon were publicized in connection with the presidential campaign of Barack Obama. Obama addressed the issues raised by the Wright controversy in his speech entitled A More Perfect Union. On April 27, 2008, Wright defended his record in a speech before the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, saying he was not divisive but descriptive, and that the black church experience, like black culture, was different but not deficient. And one of the quotes that I remember from Jeremiah Wright is he said, "People always say, God bless America, but I say, God damn America." And I had a big issue with that. So there you have it. That's a personal thing. You may not feel that way, but I personally didn't appreciate it. Okay. Who was Barack Obama's mentor? That was Frank Marshall Davis. How is Al-Walid and Hillary Rodham Clinton connected? Well, he was a huge Clinton Foundation donor. I mean, huge. Who was Hillary Rodham Clinton's mentor? Saul Alinsky. How is Al-Walid and Bush Sr. Jr. connected? Well, Al-Walid donated approximately $1.477 billion to the Bush family. Yes, that's billion with a B. Just a little chump change there. Yeah. What occurred post 9/11? Well, Al-Walid tried to give $10 million donation, and Giuliani rejected it. And I think that's awesome, personally. And here is, if it'll go out there. For some reason, it's not wanting to link up to my. How strange is that? I don't know what's happening with my. Just won't link and go to where I need it to. I don't know. It's very odd. I've never had that happen before. But it's really annoying. Okay. Well, I may have to do a follow-up and hit on these when it finally starts working. Okay, so they're connected because Al-Walid donated a lot of money into the Bush family. What occurred post 9/11? Giuliani rejected the $10 million donation. What war did we enter into? Well, we entered into what was called the War on Terror and the war with Iraq. And the War on Terror, it's the war that never ends. And it won't. It won't end. What was the purpose and disclosure given regarding justification? Well, the justification was to prevent terrorism and terroristic attacks. That was the justification. And they also said Iraq had weapons of mass destruction, which they did not. And that was a lie. But it was sold to the American people that we were going in there, we were preventing attacks because these people were going to attack us. So, and they had weapons of mass destruction. So we needed to get in there and rout them all out. Who financed 9/11? Well, interestingly enough, it was Saudi Arabia. And if I could go out to the internet, I could show you, but I don't know why. It looks like my browser has crashed for some reason. It's very odd. I wonder if I do this, if it'll help. Sorry. Not going to work for either. I don't know. I've never seen this happen before, to tell you the truth. Not sure what the deal is. Okay. Who financed 9/11? It was Saudi Arabia. Why recently are 9/11 pages being released? Well, Congress released 29 pages which outline Saudi ties to 9/11. What just occurred in Saudi Arabia? Purge. What Freedom of Information Act docs are being publicly released recently? And that's JFK. Why is this relevant? Well, I'm not exactly sure, but I think that there's some tie-ins here. Obviously, it says what information is contained within these C releases. The thing that I saw in the JFK things was that they knew that there was more than one shooter. I don't know exactly what he's referring to here. Why is C. Ray important with regards to these releases? Well, he is the new FBI director, so I think he would have to sign off on those releases, I believe. I'm not sure exactly because I don't know what the protocol is there, but I would assume, since these are FBI documents, that they would have to be signed off on by the new FBI director. What does money laundering mean? Well, money laundering is a process of transforming the profits of crime and corruption into ostensibly legitimate assets. What is the single biggest event that can generate many nation states to pay out billions? War. Who audits where the money goes? I don't know that. I'm not sure in the case of war, and I couldn't find it. I think there's a lot of leeway and a lot of loopholes there that could allow a lot of money to go missing. But I'm not sure exactly who audits the money. And if anybody knows, I'm sure that we've got military people or ex-military people or whatever that know these things, but I don't. If somebody does, please leave it in the comments below. I would really appreciate it. And then Q says $15,000 for a toothbrush. So what he's saying is, who audits where the money goes? And what he's telling us is that $15,000 was paid for a toothbrush. I believe that's what he's saying. I could not find that anywhere. I tried to look that up to see if that had been in a news article somewhere, but could not find it. If anyone knows what Q is referring to here, I'd appreciate knowing. And also, I did, and I can't even take you out there now because there's something wonky with my internet. That billions are unaccounted for in terms of the war with Iraq. Billions. So that's interesting. Where did that money go? And then Q is saying reconcile. And I think he's saying, reconcile this fact that who audits this money and why are they spending, $15,000 for a toothbrush? It's a good question. Why did we attack Iraq? And I said oil, money. Now, it's interesting. I got to put this in red because that's my comment there. Because Q then says Halliburton. Well, the hackles on the back of my neck always stand up when I see the word Halliburton because I know how corrupt they are. And that's Dick Cheney's company, by the way. Who are they? They're one of the world's largest oil field service companies. What do they specialize in? Well, they specialize in oil field services. Oddly enough, what is an oil field service? Well, it's a company that provides services to the petroleum exploration and production industry, but they do not typically produce petroleum themselves. So they provide services for people that are exploring petroleum and producing petroleum, that industry, but they're not producing it themselves. Why is this irrelevant? Well, because Iraq is a huge oil producing country. What senior level political officials are affiliated with Halliburton? Well, of course, Dick Cheney. It's his company. What is the primary goal? Oil, money, influence? What is the primary mode of influence that drives corruption? Well, I would say that money drives corruption. It's not, people often think that the Bible says that money is the root of all evil. It doesn't. The Bible never says that. It says the love of money is the root of all evil. And I believe that. It's the love of money that all evil springs from. Okay, and just in terms of Halliburton, Halliburton has become the object of several controversies involving the 2003 Iraq War and the company's ties to former U.S. Vice President Dick Cheney. Cheney retired from the company during the 2000 U.S. presidential election campaign with a severance package worth $36 million. As of 2004, he had received $398 million. Yeah, that's million, right? $398,548 in deferred compensation from Halliburton, while Vice President Cheney was chairman and CEO of Halliburton Company from 1995 to 2000 and has received stock options from Halliburton. In the run-up to the Iraq War, Halliburton was awarded a $7 billion contract for which only Halliburton was allowed to bid. Yeah, how can you be awarded a contract if you're the only bidder? But anyway, under the U.S. law, the government uses single bid contracts for a number of reasons. Oh, okay. Well, wasn't aware of that, actually. To include when, in the view of the government, only one organization is capable of fulfilling the requirement. That's interesting. I didn't know that that was actually something that they did, and I must have missed reading that before because I thought that obviously that's, I mean, it still is, a little strange that Dick Cheney's company is, being given a $7 billion contract, but hey. All right. So what is the primary mode of influence that drives corruption? I would say money. What does money buy? Weapons. How is this connected to Saudi Arabia? Because Saudi Arabia uses oil money in exchange for weapons. They've been doing that for a very long time, and that's, they donate to the foundations, like the Clinton Foundation and McCain and all these, and then in exchange, they're getting something that they want. How is this connected? Okay, how is it connected to Al-Walid? Well, because Al-Walid uses money from oil to buy weapons and influence. How is this connected to Las Vegas? Well, we know that Al-Walid is connected now to Las Vegas, and it's him that owned the upper 5 floors. He was there that night. So was the other prince, Prince MBS, I think his name is. I can never remember his full name, Mohammed bin Salid, and Trump was there as well that night. So what was going on precisely, I don't know, but this was not what we're being told it was. There's just no way. So. And here's some important things as well that I can't show you. So I'm going to have to kind of do a sum up on my next video and kind of touch on some of these things that I couldn't get to in this one because of whatever reason my internet has decided to smoke crack. I don't know what it's doing, but anyway. So I think for right now, because I can't get to these did we read these? U.S. military equals savior of mankind. We will never forget. Fantasyland. God save us all. Q. I don't think we did. I think we went straight from one to the next. And then the next one after that, the one that we missed, is just a bunch of exclamation points. So I'm sure that that has meaning because I think that Q is not just talking to us, but he's talking to other people that are keeping tracks on his posts. So, and then we had this long one, which is the last one for tonight, because unless I can get my internet working, and then I'm going to do another one and kind of catch up on some of those that I wasn't able to comment on. But I think that we'll leave that there for tonight. And in the meantime, I will try to get some of this working so that I can do a catch up on that. Okay? Well, I will talk to you guys later, and thanks for listening, and I will see you on the next one. Well, maybe I won't actually see you, but you'll hear me on the next one. And I'll probably see your comments. So, thanks a lot. Talk to you later. Bye.